Oh gosh, you guys. Yeah, find a seat. If you need water or coffee, it's over here if you haven't found it, if you couldn't get through the networking. This is awesome to have you guys here. We have so many women that come that are new. So if you are new today, raise your hand. Woo! That's awesome! Welcome. Top Floor Women has been running for years, and it started in Franklin with Mindy Epstein. She started it at the elevator on the top floor. So that's how it got its name. We've been meeting the first Wednesday of every month for, I would say, 5 or 6 years now, and through COVID we went virtual. Moved a lot of places, but we're calling this home. And hopefully we're going to have a bigger space soon, so we'll stay tuned on that in the same address. So just hang tight for that. But always go to topfloorwomen.org every month to register. I kind of had it wonky. So I had the coffee sponsor first, and I always get sold out for coffee sponsors. And so people would call me and say, the event's sold out. I'm like, no, it's not that. It's the coffee sponsor. So I've tried to rearrange that. But always, if you see it sold out, please let me know. Email me, and I'll register you manually. I don't know, sometimes it gets weird. But we always have room. We always want you to come and bring a friend. And we're really excited to have you and celebrate. So this is professional and personal development. We do it from 8 to 9:30 the first Wednesday of every month. And I'm really excited to have you guys here. I wanted to give a few of our sponsors time to speak. I am Melanie Ake with Everyday Leaders. So I help with leadership coaching, development, team training, consulting, and we have a leadership podcast. So if you have a business and you would like to share your story on our 30-minute program, we would love to invite you into the studio. So you can contact me about that. Angie Redman is coming this way. She is also a co-sponsor with me for Top Floor Women, and she's doing amazing things with Strive HR. And she's got a conference coming up soon, so I'm going to have her talk a little bit about that.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you all for being here. This is, I think, the largest group we've had in a long time, so I'm super excited to have all of you here today. Yes, Melanie mentioned I'm doing an event actually in this very room next Thursday, and it's called Decoding Engagement. And the whole workshop is all about helping you learn how to use engagement information about your employees so that you can create a great workplace culture and get more great talent in your door. And I have a 20% off coupon specific for Top Floor Women. So see me if you like. I've got a QR code you can scan and get access to that. So welcome. Happy to have you all here.
Yeah, and it's on the website too. So yes. All right, and we have a couple more things. So Lila, I wanted to give you a few minutes because this is your marketing for JP the Geek. So come on up.
Okay, so my name is Lila Karfa, and I'm the marketing manager here at JP the Geek. So JP the Geek, for those of you who do not know, is an IT and cybersecurity company, and we do anything from access control and surveillance cameras to cybersecurity email filtering. So if you guys have any questions about that, or for your company, you can come in and do a CSRA, which is a cybersecurity risk assessment, just to see where you and your company is at. We also have, can I see that paper? Thank you. So I printed out this nice little sheet for everyone to look at our events this month. We are having a lunch and learn at the YMCA on the 17th, a webinar on the 18th, and Tech Recycle Day is on the 22nd, which is Earth Day. So if you have an old flip phone in your drawer that you need to recycle, you can come in and recycle that on Earth Day. And then we're also having a lunch and learn titled Protecting Our Seniors, Cybersecurity and Cyber Awareness for Assisted Living Communities this month. So we're just really trying to spread awareness and education to all industries. Thank you.
Good job. All right, and Sabrina Hickey, I want you to come up. You were our coffee sponsor this month, so we give our coffee sponsors a few minutes to talk about their business, and that's the one that's always sold out. So come on up.
I signed up while I was at this 2 months ago, so do it now.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the green spot.
Oh, thanks. Hi, my name is Sabrina Hickey. I am a Regional Development Manager with PAX, Program of Academic Exchange. We are a nonprofit foreign exchange organization bringing students, high school students from 70 different countries to local volunteer host families. So, you don't get paid to do it. But you do get to try new coffee from maybe Indonesia or Italy. You might get a mocha pot from Italy. You get to learn about food. You get to share American traditions. And we are always looking for volunteer families. So check out our QR code. Now is the time to pick a student. If you are interested, empty nesters. I'm about to be an empty nester. I've been hosting for 10 years in a row. Little kids, big kids, single parents, you name it, all make great parents. I hate public speaking too, just so you know. Anyway, if you have questions, let me know. We do have a referral bonus, $150 for any new family that comes on because you share. All right, thanks.
Awesome. And for those of you that are not already involved, I want to just give a shout out to Lisa Stokes in the back here. She helps with registration all the time at all of our events. She is one of the members of Aspire Johnson County. So if you have a business and you're not signed up with our local chamber, I highly recommend it. We do lots of great things, and Lisa helps us with our ambassador team as well. So thanks for all you do, Lisa. Joe Ake Studios in the back. If you need video or recording or anything, he helps us and puts this on a recorded, accessible YouTube page for us. So if you go to topfloorwomen.org, scroll all the way down to where the speakers have been or the upcoming speakers, you'll see a link that it says YouTube Top Floor Women Speakers. There's a playlist. So even today, you can go back and watch Toyinda's talk, and you can watch all of our other speakers. So I highly, just recommend that to go back to personal and professional development as you need it. So you guys ready for our speaker today? I hear her say this so much so I could almost repeat it myself. I wanted to tell you the story, though, because I met Toyinda. I just joined the John Maxwell team in 2016, and I was just looking for people to connect to. And she was traveling around Purdue and Lafayette, and I said, hey, I need a mentor, and I would love to follow you and connect to you. And she was so open and said, absolutely, how can I help you? She spoke at my very first leadership event. She was at the event the day that I announced that I secured our .com for everyday leaders the night before. True story. The timing of our relationship has been incredible. And so to follow her on her journey, to watch her blossom into all the things that she's been doing as a champion athlete, especially from Purdue. Purdue's in the Final Four, too. Perfect timing, right? But I am excited to introduce my friend, my mentor, Toyinda Smith.
Thank you, Melanie. Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Oh, good morning, everybody. All right, I'm struggling just a little bit, going back and forth between do I use these notes or these notes? So I want to be able to really enter into a discussion with you. So if you would just let my shoulders down today. And hello, guys, I'm sorry about that. Just let me relax a little bit today, because I really do want to enter into a discussion with you that I think is going to be very valuable. But I want to thank my colleague, Melanie. Thank you so much for allowing me to come, and thank you, Top Floor Women, for allowing me to be here today. And especially when there's no snow on the ground. I'm born and raised in Indiana, and I've been in the Carolinas since 2015. So I enjoy watching the snow on everybody's timeline, but not experiencing the snow. So yay, we don't have snow. So thank you for that as well. I'm gonna go on and get started because of the timing, and I want to again give you an opportunity to ask questions. So recently, I experienced a huge challenge, or I would describe it as a huge blow to my self-esteem. Champion athlete, Amazon speaker, an individual that's developing coaches with my certification program, but I received a huge blow to my self-esteem. I was hired to do a job at in a private institution, we'll just call it that. And my role was simply to enhance the employee engagement. I heard, and it's not Angela, is it? Angie.
Only if your mom.
Okay.
Otherwise, Angie's.
All right, I heard Angie talk a little bit about really amplifying the employee experience, and so my role was to do that. And while I did a wonderful job at that, I really did impact help to decrease attrition and increase retention. My personality being very straightforward, being a direct person, very task-oriented, didn't serve me well. And so I'm no longer there. All right? Y'all following the story? Okay, because you gotta be a little sensitive in that. And so I received this huge blow to my self-esteem, because in my mind I said, wow, but I'm doing some excellent work, I'm impacting the bottom line, but Toyinda, maybe you are a concern. And so what I had to do is be able, I don't know if I need to stand on the green, I can move, okay. What I had to do was to be able to quickly self-adjust and to quickly self-coach myself. Why? Because I'm still called to make impact. So one of the main questions I had to ask myself, and I think we all have to do this, is figure out what opportunities arise when life goes wrong, when plans fail, and when you're not a good fit. When I have to make adjustments, when I have to quickly figure it out, I had to ask myself that question. What opportunities arise when things go wrong? And for me, the opportunity was to finish my new book called The Handbook to Coach Yourself. And let me tell you, it gave me content. My experience gave me content. So I really want to enter into this discussion with you about how we resist negative invalidation. Okay? That's one area. The second area I want to talk about is being able to reframe fear, because fear begins to set in. What if somebody doesn't like my straightforwardness? How am I to be effective if I'm not straightforward? You know, so it's this battle that happens in the mind that then creates fear. So how do we reframe our fears? And then the third area that I'll talk about, and I'm going to use these notes, right? But the third area I'll talk about is just us being able to be very resilient towards our goals. So those are the three areas that I'll deal with today. Where am I? So I'm drawing your attention to some special areas out of the book. And when I shared that my self-esteem, I took a blow, it was shook, it really was. And what we have to understand together is that our self-esteem is a part of our self-concept. And the self-concept is really has three areas. So the first is our ideal self. So this is the person that we want to be. And I believe that it's important for us to resolve who it is we want to be, so that I heard somebody earlier say that we can operate in our space. And I like to say to be able to operate in our measure or our metron. So metron is a Greek word for measure. And this is where, if you are a person of faith, this is where your oil flows. This is our sphere of influence, our area of authority. So we have to decide who we really want to be. And I say that because as we were brought up, your teacher said, oh, you should be this. Come on, your parents said you should be that. Your friends said you should be that. And so we have to cancel those things out, because while we are of age, I'll say it that way, those things still begin to replay in our mind, what we should have done and who we should have been. So being able to guard our self-concept when negative things happen to us, very important. So our ideal self, that's one part of self-concept. Another part of self-concept is our self-esteem. All right, so remember this, how much you accept yourself. I shared with you earlier that because my personality didn't gel well in that environment, but I was producing results, and so many people were like, yes to Toy. But I still took a body shot there. And it caused me to say, do you really accept yourself? I'm talking about a woman who is in Purdue University's Hall of Fame. I'm talking about an 8-time Big Ten medalist. I'm talking about somebody who was on Amazon's platform 8 times, TEDx speaker. I took a blow to my self-esteem. And so I had to self-coach because it was becoming a barrier for me in order to take the next step out. Are y'all following me? Okay, look, y'all like, I can't, in public speaking, I taught public speaking for 6 years at Coker University, and I cannot study the faces, all right? Because the faces will get me in trouble. I'm a minister as well, so I like that feedback, and it's like, don't worry about it. All right. So my self-esteem, how much do you like yourself? And I love myself. I struggled in the past with who I was. Tall, long, gregarious personality. People saying, shh, shh. I struggled with that a little bit, but I got it back together. And then this blow, I said, well, maybe you should change, Toyinda. But if Toyinda changes, and I can modify for certain personality styles, but if I change myself, then I remove myself from getting my remarkable results. So what people like about me, they may not like about me, if it's overwhelming to them. So this is where Toyinda has self-awareness, and this is where we have to have this self-awareness. So self-esteem, and then the third one is the self-image, and that's our current view of ourselves. On a scale of 1 to 10, now y'all gotta talk back to me. 1 being I have a positive self-view of myself. We're gonna be honest in this room. 1 is I don't have this, my self-view should be better. Let's say it that way. 10 is yes, I have a positive, very positive self-view. All right. So y'all just yell out the numbers, okay? I'm not gonna have you raise your hand. I'm gonna listen. 1 to 10. 1, 10, yes. Self-view.
9, 6.8.
Okay, I heard 4, 6.8, 7. Good. And I'm asking that question because this is about us being able to self-coach ourselves. So the next question you should ask yourself is, how do I make it the number up? Right? So we don't beat up on ourselves. We don't go into a low place of I'm not where I want to be, but we figure out what we need to do to take the next step up. And it's important that we do that because whenever there's a place of misalignment, then it causes us not to be able to produce at the level we should produce. So my book, The Handbook to Coach Yourself, that was my opportunity. That is what I was able to do because plans failed, because there was a misalignment in the space. And I'm able to travel and talk about how to coach yourself. We're all going to deal with conflict and barriers, but it's how we respond to them, which is the most important thing. I want to tell you about this article I read, and it was called The Need for validation and the consequences of invalidation. And what the article suggested is that invalidation can disturb our ability to function well and then have a higher sense of self-purpose. And it's important for us to make sure that our self-concept is intact, those 3 areas, so that we can continue to produce. So one way to overcome invalidation is to make sure you begin to affirm the positive things that you've already done. Yes, I was a champion. Yes, I spoke on this platform. Yes, I raised 2 wonderful collegians, right? And so we begin to pull up our resume of the positive things that we've already done. So you want to look back. Just look back over your contributions and begin to speak that over yourself. I've done this before, I can do it again. And that's what I had to do. I had to remind myself, what did it take for you to be a champion? I walked on to Purdue's track and field team. I was actually invited to walk on their track and field team. And there were 5 other women who were throwing further than me. I was a thrower, discus thrower, and they were on scholarship and I wasn't. And so I had to maneuver through that entire space. And I knew that I could be my very best by being able to support them and also create a space of contributions for myself. So I had to figure out, how did you become a champion in the first place? All right. In order to make sure your self-concept is elevated, we have to make sure we stay around the right people, right? Top floor women and Jack, right? Okay. So we have to make sure we're around the right people. So whenever that negative chatter enters in, you have to begin to disallow it. And that's what I had to do. And then view our setbacks as just temporary as we're moving forward. I'm going to move to this second area. I want to draw your attention to us being able to reframe fear. And I certify coaches and facilitators. And what I teach is that when they are working with their coaching clients and their coachees, what has to happen is we have to extract, pull out by force, but very humbly. We have to help them to extract emotional interferences, distractions, and limiting beliefs. So when I'm sharing in my book, I talk about reframing fear. And this is specifically these emotional interferences, because they come as hindrances that stop us from facilitating progress. Notice I didn't say stops us from being successful. I'm talking about the progress, the further movement that we need in order to create significance. Toyinda has had success. But my heart, my passion is to create significance, and that's about other people. So this is why I train coaches. This is why I volunteer at schools. It's because I want to create that significance in life. So many times the fear appears as fear of failure. How many of us have been there? I don't move forward. I don't take that next step because I think I'm going to fail. Some of it is fear of success. How many of us have been there? Yes, talk back to the minister, right? So we've been in those places, and so we don't go after the contract, or we don't make this connection with individuals. And some of it is fear of rejection. They're going to tell me no. I might even self-reject. Toyinda, you're not going to even be able to handle that. So we have to deal with that and reframe the fear that begins to, it begins to come into our belly, the pit of our stomach, and we have to reframe that. There's a researcher that talked about 3 fear cultures. and I want to give them to you. I talk about them in my book. But the first one is the fear of the culture of scarcity, where we believe that there is not enough, okay? So this is really real, and it blessed me to read about these fear cultures. Why? Because then I can now add an intervention. Courtney, I love your hair, okay? I can add a intervention inside of that. So the culture of scarcity, saying that there's not enough, there's not enough time, when actuality, we have 250 work days in the year, let's just say that. And if we multiply 250 days times 24 hours, it gives us about 6,000 hours. Where are my mathematicians? I'm a social scientist, so I'm working through this. So if we have 6,000 hours, we multiply that by 60 minutes, and that's 360,000 minutes to get it done. So we have enough time. But that fear culture would tell us we don't have enough time, we don't have enough resources, we don't have enough money, when in actuality, we just need to ask a question. Who can help me? But then we don't practice help-seeking behavior because of the fear of rejection. So we just have to remain aware of what's happening in our bodies, what's happening in our mind in that space. That second culture of fear is called the culture of aversion, where you're trying to turn away. But this says this isn't enough. What is the this that what we're talking about? What is the this? This isn't enough. Anybody? Could be anything. Self. What else? Right? So my achievements, Sabrina, right? My achievements are not enough. What I'm doing in this area of where I have authority, it's not enough. And what happens is you get into a place of burnout because you feel like you have to do more. When in actuality, it is enough. You're making impact. You're using your influence to contribute to society. You're changing the world. And so you become unhappy when you feel as if this isn't enough. The last fear culture is the culture of unworthiness. And this one says, I'm not enough. You don't have to raise your hand, but how many of us have been there? Again, I told you, I took a body shot earlier this year, January to be exact. It's fresh. But we're doing okay. I was able to get the book done, right? So what opportunities arise when things go wrong, when life goes wrong, when plans fail, when you are not a good fit. So unworthiness, I'm not enough. And that's where our self-value becomes low. And then we vacillate between proving ourselves and also self-sabotage. So it's important for us to just be aware in this space, and also to be able to use our wise mind. So the mental health professionals and psychologists, they talk about the three minds. I'm a woman of faith, so there's also the mind of Christ, but I'm not going to go there today. All right, so the three minds. The first one is your reasonable mind, right? So just think about a circle. So you have a circle here, and then you have your reasonable mind. The second mind is your emotional mind, so there's another circle. So the intersection between the reasonable mind and the emotional mind is our wise mind. And whenever fear begins to enter in, we have to go to the wise mind. The reasonable mind is going to use logic and intellect and be very rational. The emotional mind is going to be, listen, we're going to happy, sad, disgust, surprise, fear. We're going to be all in that space. And when we experience those negative things, this is where we have to tap right into the wise mind. So we use both. And that is what I had to do when I experienced I'll call it a dissolution. When I experienced that from the position that I worked. So we recognize the feelings, but we also sit down in a quiet place and we recognize that there are adjustments that we can make to move forward. When we change how we react at times, we're able to, I think, be able to reach our goals a little quicker. So what I did in that space is I would listen to soaking music. We call that soaking music from a ministry perspective, but if you think about meditation music, birds chirping, water running, that a violinist, those types of things, I would sit in that. And when I sat in that space, I have received so many downloads about what to do next. And so anytime we're in this place where fear is setting in, we go to the wise mind. There's another thing about fear I wanted to talk about. I was reading some medical articles, and what I understand is that the thalamus sends a signal to the amygdala, which is that almond-shaped part in our brain. I'm not a medical professional. I read the article, all right? So this is me unpacking it in my own way. So the thalamus sends a signal to the amygdala. The amygdala really governs the fear, the emotion fear. And what happens is it begins to block our ability to slowly make decisions and slowly think through things. So we're like, boom. So, if you've gotten into a situation where you've yelled at somebody or you've cursed at somebody or, something where you reacted quickly, it was because that the hormone was blocked where you have the ability to make slow, calculated decisions. But what I understood about that article is that when there's too much fear happening, what happens is you can't be creative and you can't develop at the level that you should be able to develop. And this is why I had to sit down in a quiet place and play my soaking music so that I could receive downloads to finish my book. All right, this last area is us being resilient for an action plan. So in our coach certification program, I wrote a methodology to coach yourself and for our coaches to be able to coach others. It's called the SEATS methodology, SEATS, S-E-A-T-S. So I'll walk through that because I want you to use that as you are moving forward with your plans. So we have to have resiliency for our action plans. And this means we have to be relentless. So regardless of what's going on around us, we don't absorb what we observe. Can you say that with me? I'm not going to absorb what I observe. Because if you do that, we'll get into an emotional space. Maybe we'll have a low time. We might be way too high where we're not getting anything done. So it's important for us to recognize that and remember that. So in creating what I call in my book a strategic life plan, right? This goes a little further than the vision board. How many of us have created vision boards? All right, so this goes a little further and it begins to unpack the how am I going to get to what's on my vision board. So strategic life plan. The first area of that is deciding what you want. That's a struggle for many of us. Am I telling the truth? Yeah. Yes. Okay, I want to make sure. So it's deciding what you want and what you want to do. So in our SEATS model, the S is to settle the objective. That's my want. What is it that you want to achieve? So this allows you to have clear goals. I know exactly what I want. Now I just have to put the pieces together to attain it. The E is explaining your experience, or just really explaining what's happening around you. And this model is pretty consistent with all of the conversational coaching models. It has a little challenges in there, but mostly conversational. So what have you been doing, or what have you not been doing? So really facing the brutal facts of, I have to own up to my own behavior, so I give myself a performance evaluation on my activity. And face the brutal facts. Because if we want to reach our goal, we have to be disciplined people with disciplined thoughts and disciplined action. And sometimes that's hard when we have, remember those three things that we extract: emotional interferences, distractions, and limiting beliefs. The A in the SEATS model is where we come up with solutions. Remember, we are tapping into that wise mind. We don't stay only in the rational and the intellect. We allow some of the emotion to come in, but we're hit right in the middle of being able to provide some solutions for ourselves so that we can be successful. So that A is ascertain the strategy. S, settle the objective. E, explain your experience. A, ascertain the strategy. So this is about solutions. How am I going to get to the what I want? I don't move forward in this model unless I understand what a person wants. Or for me, if we're self-coaching, what does Toyinda want? The T is tend the task, and this is where we have to do the work. One specific concept I want you to understand about tending the task is that we have to understand the when of when we should tend the task, right? The timing of it. Daniel Pink wrote a book called When, and in his book, he talked about a research study that happened in a German steel factory. And what happened is two chronobiologists came into the steel factory and they monitored the time frame of when people functioned as their best selves, when they were able to produce more, when they're able to be very fruitful. And what they discovered is that when they shifted the time that the workers completed their work based on their circadian rhythm, you can read it about it in the book, the circadian rhythm, they found that engagement increased, productivity increased, sickness or calling out because someone's sick, it decreased. So the timing of when you tend your task or when you do the work matters. So we have to understand, am I a morning person, an afternoon person, an evening person? When do I get my remarkable results? And then that S in the SEATS model is secure accountability. And what this simply means is that we honestly need real-time feedback, which is called a feedback loop. If you think about real-time feedback when we're driving on the road, you see a sign on the side of the road that says, "This is your speed." What do? Speed up, okay? But you see that in real time and you're able to make the adjustments. So this is why we need accountability in real time. Because in real time, I can make the adjustments. Toy, you said you were going to that business event and you were going to make connections with 3 people, and a part of making those connections is calling them, following through, asking if we can go to coffee, go get coffee. Sabrina's shop, right? Sabrina, you have coffee? No. Who? What did I hear about coffee? Coffee shop. Coffee sponsor. Take better notes. So accountability, it gives us the ability to get it done now. Leadership expert, I think Jim Rohn. Dang on it, I'm missing. Okay. No, leadership. Yeah, that's okay. Let me go into the big notes because I want to get this. But what he said was that glue ties the commitment to results. Who is that? Oh, I didn't put it in here. Was it Jim? Okay, I'm not gonna sit with it. But accountability.
What does the S stand for again?
Secure accountability. So that accountability is the glue that ties commitment to results. So overall, this book, The Handbook to Coach Yourself, for me, it was born out of a time when life was going wrong, just a couple months ago. So I had to act quick, and I had to move forward with the downloads that I was receiving in terms of being able to break through barriers so that I could facilitate progress. Not be successful, but facilitate the progress I needed in my life. So 3 things we have to do when we're preparing to coach ourselves. We have to resist this negative invalidation and make sure we guard our self-concept. The second thing is to reframe fear. Remember, I talked about those 3 fear cultures. A culture is a habit. So these are habits that we pick up, and sometimes we don't know we do that. So we reframe it by going into which mind? The wise mind. We go right there. So we acknowledge, ooh, this is a little painful. This hurts. Sometimes it comes out in tears, right? We acknowledge that, but then we go into the wise mind and we begin to receive downloads on what to do next. And then we create that strategic life plan. I was very vulnerable. I put a part of mine in this book, and I walked through every step of my strategic life plan. So we create that plan, and we're resilient and relentless in getting it done. All right, what questions do you have for me? Yes, ma'am.
Was there ever a thought as to, it wasn't you or your performance of why you were dissolved? It could have been something on their end as far as they got what they needed out of you.
Correct. So I believe it was a combination, right? Because I did what I was brought in to do. A part of it is I was also told that, I was tall and I had this big gregarious personality, and sometimes we have to shrink. So you talking to an athlete here, honey. We don't shrink. You're talking to a Hall of Famer. We don't shrink. You're talking to somebody who's twice divorced. We don't shrink. So some of that was at play in there, and that had nothing to do with me.
That seems sexist.
It had nothing to do with me, but with the individuals that needed to be secure in their space. See, now you're gonna make me do this, proving sabotage, and then that makes me exhausted. And I can't be exhausted because I have to facilitate progress. I have to work with other people to help them to become their best selves. So it was a combination of some of those things. And it is well. What opportunities arise when life goes wrong, when plans fail, or you're not a good fit. Quickly self-adjust, quickly self-coach, and the book came. So there's always an answer, and it is okay. And again, I'm a woman of faith. So nothing happens by happenstance. I just have to move with the times. Okay, what other questions? Yes.
What would you say to people who aren't the Hall of Famer, right? That kind of started in a way that's like maybe they never had the esteem to begin with, and have taken more than one body shot, right? And they just have never reached that level that they're then falling back from. They're just trying to get to that point. How would you
Absolutely. So we know Albert Bandura, he talked about self-efficacy. It's in the research. And self-efficacy says it's our belief in our abilities to achieve, to do a thing. Okay. I'm going to finish this and then I'll turn it over. I have a little ADHD, so my mind is, so hang in there with me. So it's a place of increasing our self-efficacy, which is what we believe we can do. A part of that is being able to recognize your small wins. So remember, I went into that space and I said, okay, I was able to do this. I was able to do that. I would go back into that place and say, okay, pat myself on the back. Because I don't have to be perfect. I didn't start my business when the conditions were right. I just started. So number one is celebrate your small wins, all of us. Despise not small beginnings. Celebrate the small wins. Number two, stay around top floor women. And Jack, all right? Okay? We stay around the people who will encourage us. We connect to people who can model where we're trying to go. So that mentoring and trusted advisor and coaches, that matters. And then the last thing is interesting. You have to put yourself in spaces that make you uncomfortable. And when you do that, and when I win in a space, pat myself on the back. So that's my thought.
I was just going to play off of her and just say that we're all on our own journey.
Yes.
So don't compare your accomplishments to what somebody else has accomplished. You're not on their journey. You're on your own.
Correct. That's good. Comparison literally could depress us, right? And when we compare ourselves to other people, I gotta go, when I compare myself to other people, it causes my father to be unhappy. Oh, you don't like how I designed you with those long fingers, Toyinda. These are the same fingers that got you into the Hall of Fame. Are you kidding me? But I didn't know at that time. I just knew that people were saying, oh, you got long fingers. Jeez. Yes, ma'am.
I have to say, social media is your worst enemy because you only see the good parts.
The highlight reels.
Everything that's below the water.
That's right. And I started to just a little bit share, like when things weren't the best. I didn't like beat a dead horse in that space, but I said, hey, things are not the best, but this is what I'm doing to correct it. Or this is who I've talked to adjust in this space. So I've tried to share some things that may not be highlight reel. Okay, yes, and then we're coming here.
As leaders and personally as someone who surrounds themselves with go-getters and really passionate, goal-oriented people, when you were speaking about getting in a space where you can make that slow decision and getting into that wise mind,
yes.
how do you help yourself and help a team get to the place where you can take a deep breath, we all know that we have the same goal in mind,
Yes.
and get to that wise mind and move forward at a sustainable pace?
Yes. So the leader,
Yeah.
right, the person that they report to, the person that they're following, has to create a safe space. And so a part of that safe space is, listen, we're all going to make a mistake. And when we make a mistake, we're not going to judge you or X you, right? So being able to create a space of safety, giving individuals an opportunity to say, I think that, we need to make a small tweak here, we need to make an adjustment here, and they don't feel like, I probably shouldn't have said that. So my suggestion, and I'm going to open it up to see if somebody else has a thought with that, is that the leadership, the person that everybody's looking up to, or the person that they're partnering with, creates a safe space of it is okay. Open communication in that space. And listen, I would bring in the soaking music, I would bring in the meditation music and say, before we start, if I'm running the show, we're going to take 10 minutes before we start this meeting, and I need you to be very mindful. They have individuals who study and practice mindfulness. We're going to bring in our soaking music, and we're just going to relax. We're not going to do business. We're going to clear our minds and relax into this thing. Yeah. Who else can add to that? Go ahead.
I would say, first of all, is when somebody makes you mad, it's just now's a great time to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, try to take it out of how you feel and try to think about their perspective and, okay, how did they come to that perspective?
Absolutely.
It'll help you, engage with them because you're coming at it from how they feel instead of how you feel.
Absolutely. I love that. And we bring, although it's nice to say, oh, check everything at the door. If you had a concern at home, just check it at the door. No, we're still bringing it in. And we're trying to balance it and work through it. But when we have that safe space to say, today I am on, this is not the best day. I'm going to give you the best that I can give you today, but it's not the best day. This specific thing happened. When we feel safe enough to share that in our work environments, on our teams, then we're going to be able to get to those results. Somebody over here, yes.
Well, I think I wonder if you have advice or something I struggle with. When you receive bad feedback, I mean, if you're let go, you kind of have to move on and work on yourself. But if you are given the opportunity to receive, negative, what you perceive as negative feedback, how do you draw that boundary between, no, that's just me, you know what I mean, that's you, or I need to work on that?
Absolutely. We have to all face the brutal facts. And I know that just from my perspective that my personality can be strong. I'm better with it, but I know that it can be strong and very direct. And if I'm focused on something specific, remember, I have a little ADHD. So let me focus. I can't be all over the place or things are going to get wacky in this space. And so I understand who I am. And so a part of what happened, some of it is very accurate. I am a very direct person. I know that, and you know it, because we took a personality assessment and I unpacked everybody's assessment, right? So I am very direct and straightforward, but when you have individuals in your space who are not, then that's when I make the modifications. So when I receive what could be considered negative feedback, I do have to go inside and make some modifications. But this shrinking thing is something else. So we've walked into a different space now. But we have to face the brutal facts. We have to do our own performance evaluation. We have to self-check and say, you know what? You could have said that a little differently. You could have proceeded a little differently with that. So when I receive the negative feedback, I do ask for examples. And I say, okay, this is true. This could have been done a little differently. So ask for the feedback and figure out what really does apply to you. And then make the adjustments if you want to. I am next month, or on the 13th, I'll be 48. So I'm 2 ticks from 50. I don't know. I don't know if I'm making too many adjustments. I'll make some. I'll make some. I'll make some, right? But when I cross over that line, listen, here's your space and here's my space. But honestly, we do have to go inside and we have to face the brutal facts. There are some things about my personality that can be a little different. So most people tell me, I don't know whether you're coming to do business today or whether you're giving hugs, because it's both. Some days I'm like, all right, let's get this done. Some days, hey, how are you? You know, and that is me. But it depends on what we have to get done, what's on the agenda, what's the timeline, what's the schedule. So I do know that about me. Face the brutal facts. Figure out how to make modifications. If you're too strong in this space, depending on who you're working with, you've got to modify, you've got to adjust. And I've always been willing to adjust, not shrink, but adjust. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
You were talking about, not adversity, but scarcity versus abundance.
Uh-huh.
Could you develop that a little bit more?
Absolutely. So a part of living this life of things that are limitless, right? I got to go here. A part of my faith is that, you know, if I begin to believe that individuals will give me access and they'll help me. So let me say it this way. It's not about what you know, but it's about who knows what you know. And so individuals are willing to help us get to wherever we have lack, but we have to practice self-help seeking behavior. In terms of abundance, if I believe that I don't have enough time, there's scarcity, I don't have enough time, I have to go in and look at my calendar, because technically I have 24 hours in a day. If it's something that has to be done, do I have to do it? Does it have to be done now? Can I enlist the help of somebody else? That creates time for me. In terms of finances and money, that I am very creative with generating income. So that book, for example, so we're talking about scarcity, there isn't enough. That book is not just a book. Would you agree? Yep. Okay? I can take that book and I can speak from the book. I can take that book and take a chapter and I can train from the book. I can take that book and create a coaching program from the book. I could take that book and create a mentoring program from the book. The list goes on and on and on. So scarcity, we are in a limitless environment. We may think because we are absorbing what we're observing. So it's just staying in that wise mind, telling the amygdala to let me make my calculated, informed decisions here. Let my prefrontal lobe go so I can be very creative with what I have. So for me, when we're talking about scarcity and how to kind of cancel that thought, it is seeking the help of other people. 9 times out of 10, others will help us. Sometimes we back up because they're going to think I'm incapable. They're going to think I'm incompetent. No, go to the right people. The right people will help. If they don't know, they know somebody else who knows. If that person doesn't know, they know somebody else who knows. Limitless. So creating wealth, creating revenue generating activities, I'm huge with that. That book is not just a book. So it pulls me out of a place of scarcity. Timing of everything, is it taking too long? Man, this is 60 days now. That's something else. But we have to stay in that wise mind. Does that help?
Yeah.
You sure? Yeah. Okay, all right, because my ADHD acts up.
Scarcity is that the glass is half full.
Mm-hmm.
Abundance is it's technically half air, half water.
Ha! I love it. Big. I love that. Thank you. What else? Anything else? Oh.
I'll challenge status quo.
Yes.
On the personality test,
Mm-hmm.
do you believe or how do you feel about the statement that personality test is who you are at the moment, not who you can become?
Yes, that's big. I agree with that. Right? Because it still taps into the place of modification. I have to be big enough, we have to be big enough and mature enough to modify when it's necessary. I'm with you. I'm with you. Any other questions? Well, listen, I appreciate your time. Thank you for allowing me not to stay over here and use my cards today. I appreciate that. I appreciate it.